So this just happened 5 minutes ago and it's very light compared to other stuff that gets posted here. I'm waiting for the bus to go home from shopping with my mum. For context, I'm a 27-year-old woman and we are in Australia. So while we're waiting I see and hear a magpie which is walking around. I say out loud to my mum, "Oh, he's so cute." My mum says he'll peck your eyes out. And I say back, I just like how he looks and how he walks. As I say this I'm staring at the magpie, but when I break from looking at it, I realize that close by was a teenage boy and he's looking at me weirdly. He abruptly walks hurriedly away while glancing back every now and then. When he's gone, it occurs to me that he must have thought I was talking about him. "I'm sorry kid, I didn't mean to freak you out." DL, doctor, I was funning over a magpie and a teenage boy thought I was talking about him and got creeped out. So I work as tech support for an ISP selling mobile broadbands. My work usually consists of activating SIM cards, troubleshooting routers and guiding elderly people. However, this call I had the other day really stood out to me. /welcome to the broadband support, how can I be of service? /hi, I'm not very tech savvy and need help to set up my new router. Right, start the router and help the customer connect to it. Easy peasy. /okay then, have you plugged the router into the power socket? No, I haven't, that's why I called. I was wondering where I should make the hole for the plug. Processing. No, she can't be serious? Ma'am, you're supposed to plug it into the back of the router, you see the round hole? Oh, I see. Yes, that fit perfectly, thank you. We then went through the rest of the process without any further issues. It left me wondering what her thought process was. Does she think cables work like blood samples, where the needle needs to be inserted into a vein? I'm still at a complete loss for words. At my previous job, when a customer would buy a Roomba, I would jokingly refer to it as an adoption and ask things like what they plan to name it while waiting for someone to get one down from top stock. One day, I make such a call and Sarge responds. Sarge, as you probably guessed, was military. Anytime he could work that into a conversation, he would. He also had some ridiculous beliefs, like all men are military members because if the US activates the draft again, we'd all be in. And we'd be his subordinates because he was there first. I need a Roomba E5. I say over the radio. What? Roomba. E5. What? Roomba. E5. Elephant 5. Wait a second. Sarge comes up and looks at the product card the customer brought up. Echo. When you use a radio, E is echo. Sarge walks off to get the Roomba. What the flip rhymes with elephant? The customer snickers. We both knew Sarge was just pushing my buttons. He better be careful. That ladder is about to hit that cord hanging from the ceiling, said the customer. No, we aren't that lucky, I responded. We laugh and start wasting time, waiting for the Roomba. It eventually arrives and Sarge walks away. So, what are you planning on naming this? The customer pauses for a second, a smile forms and he gives his answer. Echo. Picture the scene. I'm 12, it's my first year in comp. I'm surrounded by new faces, new teachers and it's my very first sex ed class. Now, in my school, we didn't have an actual sex ed class per se, we simply had a lady come in to talk to us all about it. We had 2-hour session in the assembly hall, well, everyone else had a 2-hour session. I think I must have lasted maybe half an hour before I was carried out. Why was I carried out, you ask? Well, I'm not the toughest of individuals. I'm more the type that needs to lie down after a paper cut. Well, this lady started us off with puberty. She talked about the boys, then moved on to the girls. The first thing with the girls? Periods. When she started off, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was legitimately in utter shock. Then she showed us that pads, and that was it. She'd pushed me against the ropes with the fact girls have periods. Those pads were the right hook I didn't see coming. I was done. Lights out. She held the pads up and told us the pads soak up the blood, but that's all I remember. The next memory was waking up on the floor, one friend undoing my tie frantically saying he needs air. He needs air. With another friend pushing me onto my side. To this day, everyone in the room believed I passed out because I was unwell. What they don't know, to this day, is that I actually passed out because I found out women have periods. Worst thing is, I missed the rest of the lecture, which means I didn't find out until a lot later that women have more than one period. I legit thought it was one and done, like hey, you just had your period. Congrats. You've now hit puberty. Like it was some kind of darn participation trophy. DL, doctor, I hate the sight of bloody, which caused me to pass out when I found out women have periods. I'm a courtroom assistant in a Southeast Asian country. I'd rather not get much further than that on identifying information. We do both security and practical assistance like moving displays, escorting juries, and some ceremonial stuff as well. This was the sentencing of an evil flip on several high crime offenses, similar to what a capital offense may be in America. Here high crime is the level above criminal offense, or felony for the rest of the world. He stalked, kidnapped, raped, and murdered a locally famous and growing pop artist who was pregnant. He was charged with stalking, high crime kidnapping, high crime rape, high crime murder, high crime fetal homicide, and a bunch of other stuff. Evil Flip, as he will be referred to from here on out, was on suicide precautions as he made threats against his own life in prison, so he was in spiffy paper clothes. We were well into victim impact statements. The victim had a large family and there were something like 35 individuals addressing the court. We're something like 28 statements into it. Next up was Granddad. These are always really emotional, families are always really upset for good reason, but this 80-plus old guy is the worst I can remember. He was crying, breathing heavily, shaking, the entire sentencing. He was called to make his statement, starts walking up, about past the counsel table. He then turns, tackles the attorneys and Evil Flip. He didn't get much in on the Evil Flip, maybe a kick and 2 punches before 15 of us pile up on him. He was taken into custody, and it quickly became apparent that Evil Flip got what was coming. Evil Flip is screaming and gagging for about 20 seconds, then he starts convulsing, came back in about 2 minutes choking/gagging, really bad. We put him on his side and get an ambulance on the way. The rest of the gallery was evacuated and court went into recess. By time the ambulance arrives he's not breathing, only twitching and has no pulse. They do CPR, take him out to the hospital. He was revived and died later that day. Coroner's report said his brainstem was damaged, his skull was broken, and brain herniated through break in his skull. The Granddad was interviewed by national police who have jurisdiction of courts. He said that he'd been planning that for days, he felt no remorse, said if he had time he would have killed the attorneys too. It also came out that the Granddad was in my country's mob back in the day, had 40 years in prison prior for drowning someone in petrol and lighting their corpse on fire. He was suspected but not confirmed to be involved in several other high-profile murders. He was charged with murder, conspiracy, contempt of court, and 2x simple battery for the attorneys. He was found not guilty of everything except contempt of court, to which he was originally sentenced to 4 years but it was reduced to terminal probation with home confinement due to his health. I work for a company that has a warehouse. We sometimes have problems with our warehouse personnel pulling the wrong product, packaging things wrong, putting FedEx mixed in with UPS, etc. Errors happen, but they're normally minor and easily fixed. We had one warehouse guy who kept making mistakes, and my boss at the time was getting pretty frustrated by all the shipping errors, so he went out to the warehouse to chastise the guy in front of everyone else. He told him over and over again, follow the instructions on the invoice exactly. Do whatever it says. One of those instructions on the invoice is a note for whomever processes the shipment and makes the label as the billing instruction, stating whether it needs said standard COD, COD certified funds, or shipped open. I was the one handling FedEx processing that day, and imagine my surprise when I walked out and there were around 50 packages sitting in the lane ready to be processed. And every single box was cut open on the top. I flagged him down and asked him why all the boxes were open, and he just kinda shrugged and said I followed the instructions on the invoice. Edit, I guess I should add an explanation. COD is cash on delivery, which means the recipient pays for the package when it arrives. Shipping something open means the bill is still open with the shipper, and they would send payment later. It saves on fees if you have an open account that you pay on a regular basis. I'm not a server right now. I've been one in the past, but right now I'm just a customer. I've noticed this behavior in other customers lately and it's making me crazy. Several times I've gone in to pick up my takeout food at different restaurants. A few of the places I go to keep the takeout bags next to the register for easy pickup once the customer pays. Impatient customer comes in to pay for their food. While they are standing waiting to pay, they start opening the takeout bags and looking through the food to see if it's theirs. Stop. My food is somewhere there as well. And I don't want your potential germs all over my bag. The hostess/cashier/server will give you your bag after you have paid and your food is ready. And one other rant. Everyone is mostly picking up food right now. So saying you only tip when you dine in is a lame excuse for not tipping because it's takeout. Just give a tip. Your server needs it. They are working and need everything they can get. End of rant. Thanks for listening. My manager asked me a strange thing today. I really need you to work XYZ days because I don't have an extra person to schedule in. Well, I'm leaving before that so I can't. This is how they get you. My manager nicely acknowledged me for the work I'm doing and then eased the convo into just change your last day. Initially, in my head, I felt sorry. I thought, for me to be a good worker, I need to do this for the company. Then, it hit me. I don't need to do this. I already put in my 2 weeks and I'm going to be officially done with this place very soon. I know I was great at my job and I don't need to feel sorry for anyone. I need to do what makes me happy and comfortable. Short rant over. I've got too many stories for you folks today. 1. We had 2 locals throw a party at 1 a.m. last night. They invited 15 people to our courtyard/fire pit area and started drinking and smoking and blasting music. The Na went to the room of the guest who started the party and the guest slammed the door on him. The Na called the cops and evicted them. And #X200B. Who honestly believes they can throw a hotel party at 1 a.m. and not get in trouble? Idiots, that's who. And #X200B. 2. I just had a lady demand I shred her room key cards. She didn't want us keeping them because apparently all her information is on them and we might steal her identity. I'm not sure how she doesn't realize that we already keep her name, address, credit card, phone number and email on file in our computer. Anyway, she watched closely as I shredded her keycards. Meanwhile this woman must be near 70 years old and she wasn't wearing a mask. And #X200B. You're worried about the wrong things, lady. Reposting to meet character limit. I have really been enjoying this new series on investigation discovery. They cover 2 cases each episode and so far, most of them are ones that don't get the same kind of coverage that bigger cases like Maura Murray, Madeleine McCann, John Bonet, etc. get. I also appreciate that they appear to have some focus on cases of missing or murdered people of color because we know that in general, these cases get less attention. Just watched this week's episode which featured the cases of Amber Tuccaro and Keisha Jacobs. A couple of weeks ago they talked about Kira Bergman's case. I really appreciate the detail in which they cover these cases as well as the involvement of the families of the missing/murdered individuals. I know not all cases have enough meat to warrant a full episode of 2020 or another hour-long show, so these half-hour segments should allow them to highlight a lot of underreported cases. I would highly recommend this series to people who enjoy the sub. I was working the open shift, so I had a couple hours to myself before my coworker or manager came in, and then the checkout rush would begin. My hotel had around 250 rooms, and about 20 luggage carts. There is a small stall by the front desk that holds 4 carts and we occasionally keep a few more in the lobby for easy access. They cannot be reserved, and my hotel does not have a bellhop, or luggage handlers. Checkout was 11 a.m., but guests would start to head out around 10, and we would be out of carts by 10:30. Most guests see this, and I'll let them know where they can find some, and they move on. I say most guests, because a woman who I will call Gail, found this unacceptable. Gail came around the corner and found the cart stall empty. She turned to me and asked where all the carts had gone. Me, it's prime time for carts, so they're probably in use, or down in the parking garage. Gail, well I need one now. It's 10 minutes till 11, and we need to check out. You may find some down in the parking garage, or just outside the elevators on any of the other floors above us. Gee, so you expect me to run all over this hotel, searching for one? I'm not doing that. If we're not out on time, we better not get charged. This isn't our fault. That's not my expectation at all. I let you know where they may be to narrow your search. Also, there will be no late fee unless you are still in the room at noon. Gee, you go find me one. Ma'am, I'm not allowed to leave the desk. Gee, make someone find me one then. Where's your bellhop? We don't have that service. I can see if a house person is available, but that's not their job. Gee, call now. It's not my job to find one. I will. I have to send an electronic dispatch and they can take a while. What is your room number so I can have it sent to you? Gee, no, call now. They can bring it to me here. M, this can take a while. G, call. Now. I insisted that she gave me her room number, and I eventually called my housekeeping manager, who was sitting through a door, 10 feet away from me. The call was for appearances, and after I hung up, I told her to go back to her room. She huffed at me and wouldn't budge. I started to ignore her, because I had sent the request and that was as much as I could do. She finally left and my house person came to let me know that Gail was a patronizing idiot when she dropped off the cart. It was unacceptable to wait so long for a cart, even though the house person went down a single floor to the parking garage and got the cart, just like she could have. I was quite glad to have only dealt with her upon checkout. I work for a water company and I have this conversation quite often. C, can you tell me where the water meter is? Me, yes, it's in the public footpath out the front of your property in the ground under a small, square, metal cover that says water on the front. C, is this it in my hall? Me, no, it's out the front in the. C, is it the box on the side of my house? Me, no, it's. C, there's a tap in the back garden, is it there? Me, finally able to finish my sentence, no, it is in the ground in the public footpath. C, oh, there it is, you could have been clearer. Me. So this first started a few months ago, when I was watching a video on YouTube. It was getting kinda boring, so I decided to set the playback speed to 2. At first it was hard to understand, but eventually I got the hang of it. Over the course of the next couple of months, I watched videos at 2x speed more and more often. I didn't think much of it, I was just saving time and watching more videos, which I didn't think could have been that bad of a thing. Cut to now, and every time I watch something on YouTube, I find myself bored unless it's at double speed. It's also spread to other mediums, such as podcasts, and I often find myself unable to focus on a movie or TV show. I know it's not as bad as other posts I've seen on here, but my attention span is a lot worse now. DL, doctor, watched YouTube videos at 2x speed, developed an attention deficit. I don't recall ever personally being mistaken for a store employee, but I have been a part of so many "I don't work here" lady stories that I've lost count years ago. And that's because my dad has successfully pulled off the old nerdy guy so well that is constantly being mistaken for a store employee of some kind. I used to witness this all the time as a kid when going to the store with my dad. My dad would don his usually plaid button-down shirt, very non-trendy and ill-fitting jeans, and loafers. There were no smartphones back then, so he would literally go around with a folded-up piece of paper and at least 2 pens in his breast pocket, sticking out of course for all to see. His look was completed with large glasses and a truly terrible comb-over, which would frequently be mistaken for a bad toupee. I truly love the guy, but his look is almost a caricature. So this is what would happen. We would go to a place like Home Depot or Best Buy or some computer store and my dad would pull out his folded paper and pen and start going up and down the aisle taking meticulous notes about whatever product he was shopping for. It could be computer hard drives, but it could also be light bulbs. It's just what he did. I, of course, would wander a little away, occupy myself. But on the regular he would always get mistaken for store employees, even though he never had the signature uniform that those types of stores would give their employees. Some unsuspecting customer would wander over and say, "Excuse me, but can you tell me where can I find XYZ?" Dad, no. Customer, no? What do you mean, no? Dad, well, why should I? Customer? Dad returns to jotting down notes / Customer, don't you work here? Dad, no. Customer, awk. Incredulous look, not sure what to believe. Reality shattered / and #X200B. And this would go on and on for years. So I work in a dental call center for insurance. I get a call today asking why a code had denied. I look it up and it's a really simple denial. I say, "Ma'am, I see this procedure code denied because we don't have history of a root canal on file. All we need is an x-ray to show it was done." Her, "Well, I'm not send 9ng it in again, just fix it." Me, "I'm sorry ma'am, but I can't do that. All we need is the x-ray submitted and we can pay you." Had to repeat this 3 times to her. Her, "Well, I need to speak with your supervisor." I transferred her to the supervisor and they said the same thing I said. No need to make a big fuss over such a simple solution, but hey, that's call center work, right? This happened last week, I just thought to post it now. So earlier that day, I walked into the bathroom and immediately saw a spider sitting in the bathtub. It wasn't your good old run-of-the-mill house spider, though. This dude was huge. Like 1.5-inch radius. I immediately knew I had a powerful adversary, but I still thought I'd be able to rid myself of this foul beast using the shower. Long story short, the spider escapes from the tub after the water gets close. Now, with my time growing thin, I decided I had to act fast before the spider can escape underneath the door. I grabbed this unmarked IKEA spray bottle, because I knew it was filled with bleach, and started spraying it. It did nothing. At this point, I was trembling in my boots. I thought maybe I could find something stronger than bleach, so I went to the kitchen. When I looked, I saw a bottle of rubbing alcohol. It was 99%. I was sure rubbing alcohol would put an end to this war, so I ran back, and drenched the spider in it. I was excited to see the spider had died, however, I was hit with a terrible chemical smell seconds after. Immediately I turned on the fan in the bathroom and shut the door, then looked up bleach and rubbing alcohol. I had made chloroform gas. DL, doctor, I accidentally mixed bleach and rubbing alcohol together making chloroform gas, a highly deadly chemical compound. I have a relative he's great and a lot of fun but has a history of making pretty dumb decisions. For example, he has decided to take a 5th year of college to regain his lost senior year of track and field, due to the pandemic. Kevin now has a full bachelor's degree in a STEM field and could be making good money but is content to go to a 5th year for a minor just for 6 or 7 track meets in the spring. But I digress. The most Kevin-like thing that this boy has ever done was eat a couple ounces of raw chicken every day to gain immunity. Immunity from what? I do not know. Can you imagine just having a slab of raw chicken in the fridge and then making it part of your daily routine to hack off a slimy nugget and eat it? Not as part of a bet or a dumb joke, but just because you think you can get immunity. From my understanding, this went on for 3 or 4 months. Mercifully, he stopped after feeling sick for a couple of weeks. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee, cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about DJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. Now I'm 35. I've got 2 kids, and another on the way. On most days, I do an excellent job of pretending to be a grown-up. I admit I still occasionally try to move things with my mind or practice my kamehameha in the shower. Essentially stuff that I can do in private without the judging eyes of my peers trying to figure out what level of autism they can diagnose me with. Last night there's a terrific thunderstorm going on. The kind where thunderclaps shake the glass in your house and the kids occasionally run into the hallway in fear. Fantastic stuff. So I step out onto my porch and leave the front door open with the glass door shut behind me. I'm watching the lightning dance across the sky. Most of the time we remove ourselves from actually watching these storms, but if you actually go outside and pay attention, you can understand how people used to think it was God's wrecking shoot. I think to myself, all this energy bouncing around the atmosphere. It could totally activate my dormant superpowers. It would be stupid of me not to check. So before I go back inside, I hold my arm out up, extend my fingers out, and try to make it lightning again. I totally nailed the pose because I'm flexing as hard as I can and I stuck my arm out very dramatically. In my head I looked very cool. Pause, no luck, no lightning. Time to go back inside. I turn around to go back inside and I see my pregnant wife on the other side of the glass door watching me. Knowing exactly what my nerdy ass was trying to do. The cackling started immediately. She continues laughing at me when the look on my face turns to shame. Leaning against the wall laughing at me. The kind of laughing that hurts you soul because there's no justification against it. She follows me through the house, laughing at me. promising me that she's going to tell everyone what a complete nerd I am. And #X200B. TLDR, while watching a thunderstorm outside, I tried to make it lightning again with a really dramatic pose. Didn't know my wife was watching me. She proceeds to make fun of me the rest of the night. My mind has been wandering, and, for the first time in a while, I've been thinking about one particular day, in the early morning hours before daylight, a long time ago. It was a progression point on the road from one reality to another, and I occasionally take out the memory and re-examine it, to see if I find anything new, and to try to understand its significance, and why, among so many others, it stays so fresh and clear. It was the time of year on Paris Island when the seasons were changing. The summer heat we had started out in was giving way to cooler weather. The nights were cold enough by now that there was a noticeable chill in the air. We rested against our packs in the early morning darkness. The surrounding woods and fields were quiet, with the kind of silence that can only be found on a cold night when the world is asleep. None of us spoke. We would not have even had it been permitted. It would have seemed disrespectful, somehow, to break the stillness. Even the DIs seemed subdued, speaking in low voices where they stood together, as if they, too, sensed the need for the solitude to remain undisturbed. Far fewer weeks now remained than were behind us. We weren't the same people who had run to stand on the footprints on a sultry night that now seemed so long ago. Home, once longed for, had become an abstract idea from another lifetime, not important in the moment. We looked different. Those of us who had been too thin had gained new muscle. Those of us who had been too thick were now leaner and harder. Things that had been challenging were now no longer difficult. We moved differently, together, and quickly, and with purpose. We had enough self-awareness to recognize that we now thought differently, as well. Old ways of looking at the world were dying, to be replaced by something new. There were things that we had learned. We had discovered that each of us, alone, were limited, and could fail, and that we were stronger together. We had learned to have trust and confidence in each other, and by doing so, to believe in ourselves, and that, together, we really could do anything. Fear and doubt had been replaced by a quiet assurance. We had learned to listen, really listen, not just to the words themselves, but to the intent behind them. We had learned to learn. We were different. We had changed, and would continue to change. We had shed our old skin, but had not yet fully grown into our new one. But we would. There was enough light now that the trees, which had been vague shadows before, were slowly taking on form and substance. Mist began to be visible where it clung to the ground in the low places. The order was given to form up. As one, and with no words spoken, we got to our feet, shifted our loads, and tightened our straps. As we set out along the sandy road, there was a sense, not yet of belonging, but of becoming. First-time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the EMTs got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. So this wasn't today. This was about 5 years ago, but I was inspired by another post about a t-shirt. So I had been dating this guy for around 2 weeks. Maybe less. Every Saturday he would have parties at his apartment. This was the first time I had had a day off work to go to one. So like the young and love-struck girl I was, I got dressed to go to the party. I was in clothes that were very much meant for showing off a little and looking cute. Black crop tank top, leather jacket, leggings, heeled boots, heavy makeup, the works. I wanted to impress my boyfriend. So because a friend was driving, I pre-gamed before I got there, as you do. When I got there, the party was already going, so I drank even more. I was feeling pretty fuzzy when my boyfriend asked if I wanted to come with while he picked up a friend. He hadn't been drinking yet, so I was happy to go with. When we had been driving for a little bit, he pulls into a random house and says, "We'll pick up my friend in a minute, let's meet my parents first because they're both home for once." I panicked. I was in clothes that exposed every asset of my body, I was already drunk, and I had heard stories of how conservative his parents were. It didn't help that the house we pulled up to was about twice the size of my parents' house, and my parents don't have a small house. He assured me that they won't care and practically drags me in. I want to know that he wasn't being mean or rude, he was just being completely oblivious. So we get in there and his parents are super nice. I shake their hand and say hello and try not to stumble or slur or do anything that a drunk person would do. After about 10 agonizing minutes we went to pick up his friend and got back to the party. Apparently, his parents not only couldn't tell how inebriated I was, but they loved me and wanted me to stick around forever. My boyfriend couldn't stop laughing at me about it. Anyway, we've been married for almost 3 years. I'm still embarrassed that the first time they saw me I was like that. DL, doctor, got sloshed before a party, met my new boyfriend's parents while drunk and wearing minimal clothing. They loved me and those parents are now my in-laws. Wholesome story time. It may not fully fit here, but it was so amazing. This past weekend my family visited Williamsburg, Virginia to chill and relax at a resort. It was quite wonderful and it was nice being away from home. One day we stopped by the Lenox store, porcelain store that sells plates, cutlery, some decorations, and collectibles. This was our second trip to the store that day since Mom wanted to double-check the price of something we bought. I bought a Disney collectible on the first trip and figured out how the sale worked. The store is closing, so some of the inside sale signage doesn't explain how the sale fully works. So, I'm heading back to the Disney collectibles again, and this elderly couple are at the display case for the Disney stuff and are trying to figure out how this sale works. So I decide to casually tell this wonderful man and his wife how the sale works, as I happen to be near and just being kind. I work retail, so I guess my customer service side came out. After he and his wife thanked me, he asked if I worked there and I say no. He can't believe it and yells over to the people who do work at this store that they need to hire me for $85 an hour. It was such a compliment. After that I buy a second Disney collectible and leave. That little interaction made my day. We were in Mokpo, South Korea once upon a time offloading a ship there for an exercise. Mokpo is on the opposite side of the Korean peninsula from Pohang and I was the senior ranking person there, a CW03. With a little band of 0481s we had, and the assistance of my motor transport gunny, we got the ship offloaded, all the equipment staged and the secure quadcons secured under a guard. I looked around, proclaimed it good, and off into town we went. Let me state this up front, Mokpo sucks. There ain't shoot to do. And of course, we were all bad Marines cause we went out in town in uniform as we had nothing else to wear. We went to a shopping area and I left the guys to find anything at all to do in this town. Not even so much as a twin barber pole barber shop, those that have been there know what I mean. I was walking back to the Korean Walmart thing I left the guys at and see them going into the back of the van. So I says to myself, good to go, they are loading up and we are heading back to port. As I got closer, I start hearing rock music fill the air. That is when I noticed they are not filling the van, they have a cooler full of beer and are partying in the Walmart parking lot. So as a good CW03, what do? Well, I walk into the store and proceed to buy 2 more cases of beer, tell everyone to load up, and we head back to the port. There we commence to have a few beers, everyone but the guard, laugh, joke and generally have a good time. The next morning, the trucks arrive to pick up the equipment we staged the day before. We load everything up, clean ourselves and our barracks, an abandoned office building of some sort, it had AC though. And head back to reality. A few years later, I am the combat cargo officer aboard a U.S. Navy LHD. I get a new staff sergeant come in to work for me, 1 CW04 and 3 senior enlisted permanently stationed on the ship with 1,100 sailors, good times. He walked in the office to check in with me, looked at me and said, "Sir, weren't you in WACPO in 201X? Yeah, why? I was one of the guys that helped offload the ship. You became a legend that day." I was curious and asked why that was. He stated we had never seen an officer work so hard to get a little taste of liberty and never saw an officer carrying 2 cases of beer so the troops could drink. We would have done anything for you after that. DL, Doctor, don't blame my company for your stupid and threaten to take it to social media. Wanna close your account? Done. Although I should cease to be amazed at people, I still get surprised every now and then and frankly, it just makes me laugh. CM, card member, male, loud, opinionated, I would guess a real douchebag. Me. CM, yeah, I was declined tonight. What's wrong with you people? I apologize for your inconvenience, let me take a look at your account. Okay, I see that the account has a past due amount. Could I help you by taking a payment to bring it current? CM, no, you people are wrong. I am on autopay and it should have come out. Just a moment. I review the payment history, clearly showing he has made payments through the app for the previous 3 months. History has nothing on adding autopay. Okay, I don't see where autopay has been added to the account. CM, you know, this is stupid. I have never had any problems with any other credit card and I make my payments and this decline is the thanks I get? I am just going to close this card and get on social media and tell everyone how sorry company is. This is ridiculous. Miss Lover never did this to me. I've been with them on autopay for years. At this point, I'm so over this CM because A, he has run up a balance between 5-10K and is about 1K short of his credit limit and now he is bent about not making 300 monthly payments that are barely covering his interest and some balance. B, blaming the company because he is not set up for autopay. 3, clearly knows he is not on autopay as evidenced by his most recent mobile app and online payments. And D, his generally surly tone and social media threats. I can connect you with a specialist to close your card. CM, what? Close my card? Dumbfounded and incredulous that I would not crumple from his social media threat. Yes, I can connect you if you would like to close your card. CM, oh okay, yes I guess so. Thank you, I'll put you on a brief hold. Call into retention. To close your team member, so yeah, this CM wants to close his account. I share the details with her and we laugh, have fun. So I would be willing to bet that we did something to keep this CM. But for someone to come on the phone, blame us for his stupid and use loosely veiled social media threats, I'm done. I work for a global company that will not think twice for even a nanosecond about you going into debt with another credit card company. Here's the standard, this was quite some time ago qualifier. I just thought it was funny and I should finally share on my cake day. So I met this girl on Bumble and before I even picked her up I got into a fender bender and almost canceled the date. In retrospect I should have. Anyway, we go out and have a great time. She comes over to my place afterwards and one thing leads to another and well, you get the point, and so did she. Anyway, so I'm kind of a lazy person in that as long as things are not broken I'll just leave them be. I'd been renting this place and for a while there was this rotting ring around my toilet forming. I later found out it was a leak that was rotting the wood around it. The toilet would wobble sometimes when I sat on it, but I had a system. Yes, I'm terrible. Well anyway, after we finish up she gets up to use the restroom. Now I'm in cloud 9 so I don't think about my flimsy toilet when she goes in there. Big mistake. As I'm laying down the next thing I hear is a loud scream and, help. I go to the door and knock and then I enter and I see this girl, naked, on her knees holding up my toilet, water spilling everywhere looking mortified. She says, it just tipped over. I don't know what happened. I'm trying real hard not to laugh as I help her balance it back upright. I explain what happened and she laughs it off a bit too, but then I take her home cause you know, she still has to go and, then I never saw her again. I don't know why I ended up having to call my landlord to fix it and I learned my lesson after that. DL, doctor didn't fix a wobbly toilet and my date knocked it over costing me future dates. This happened about a month and a half ago, but my 23F, now fiancé, 19 meters, had been faking me out with proposals, getting down on one knee and picking up a sock, etc. and I was just getting so frustrated, so one night I was sitting on our couch and he was on the patio smoking a cigarette and he said, what would you do if I proposed right now, and I said I would say yes of course. "You keep faking me out." And he said he just wanted to make it special, he was waiting for the right time, and I told him I didn't care how he did it, I was just ready for us to be engaged so we can get on the path to marriage, because I love him and am so excited to start that adventure. So he actually gets down on one knee and proposes, and of course I'm crying and I say yes. But I am kind of sad that I ruined the surprise. I wish I would have let him do it his way because we're both big romantics, I'm just super impatient. DLDR, Op rushed her proposal and ruined the surprise. Father and son Daniel, 46, and Liam, 22, Poole traveled to Malaga on 31st of March 2019 and after hiring a car, traveled to Estepona, in southern Spain. They were last in touch with family on 1st April and were last seen in Estepona on this day. Daniel is 5 feet 9 inches tall and of stocky build. He has short, graying hair, a full, short gray beard and blue eyes. Liam is 6 feet tall and of medium build. He has short, light brown hair, full, short brown beard and blue eyes. Their hire car had not been returned and their luggage and passports were found in their hotel room, police said. Their gray hire car, registration 0254 KTM, was discovered around a month later abandoned by the side of the road 2 miles from the hotel. Sussex police said the pair, from Burgess Hill in West Sussex, had traveled to play golf and look at holiday homes. But Liam's grandmother, who retraced their steps to Spain with the BBC, said the pair did not play golf. Ms. Kathy Catney has been to the resort in Spain to try and track down her grandson and said she was surprised there were no missing posters in the area. One barman claimed he had seen Daniel, who has a string of drug-related convictions, and Liam, but said they were both wrong-uns. Ms. Catney said, "I knew he, Daniel / had done time for drugs because he was with my daughter that time. We always suspected he was up to no good, but again we just didn't ask questions." Daniel, the father, a car mechanic with convictions for drug dealing, is related through his mother to the notorious Richardson crime family from South London. Charlie and Eddie Richardson, who led the gang, were alleged during the 1960s to have tortured victims with bolt cutters and pliers. "I knew he was going to Spain to meet up with somebody to do some sort of deal. Whether that was property, or / drugs, I really didn't know." She said the family received a phone demand for £100,000 the day after the pair disappeared and they managed to raise the money in 3 hours, but nothing further materialized. Liam's mother, Lisa Barrick, says, "We believe they met some guys for dinner at a Chinese restaurant in Estepona on April 1st and we think Liam went on somewhere with one of these men." Danny must have returned to the hotel as he was apparently seen leaving alone the next morning in the hire car. That's the last anyone has seen or heard of either of them. Bartender at a local pizza joint. "My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones lol." "I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was lazy and a crybaby, so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again. Reposting this because the other one I posted got taken down for a suggestive title. Enjoy the story! So, this one happened 2 years ago, and I still think about it from time to time. I went to a BJ's store with my mom, grocery shopping, looking for clothes, the normal sort of items. So, my mom then asks me to go get a box of cereal that she forgot from across the store. Now, note what I was wearing. I was wearing light blue jeans, black Adidas shoes, a black GE healthcare jacket, my dad works there, a Legend of Zelda baseball cap, and a red Marvel shirt. This'll be important. Now, I might look like I worked there, but I most definitely do not. I was with my mom the whole time I was in the store. So, I head over to the cereal aisle to grab that sweet Raisin Bran Crunch. After I grab what I believe to be the best box available at the moment, I turn around, and Karen is just standing in front of me expectantly, like I'm owing her something. So I say excuse me, sorry, like I always do when I'm in someone's way. As I'm getting out of the aisle, I hear her speak to me. This is how it went. M equals me. K equals Karen. K equals kind employee. K excuse me. M yes ma'am? What seems to be the problem? K there is a problem. You took the best cereal box for yourself. M ma'am, I'm getting it for myself. There's plenty more. If you'd like, I can help you get one. I try to be a helpful person, and this Karen was kind of short. 5 feet 3 inches maybe? I'm 5 feet 10 inches. K yeah right. Like I'd need help from this store's Doomba employees. Now, give me that cereal box. She snatched it right out of my hands, and then proceeded to grab my arm with her nails, which dug into my skin. MMAAM let go of me. K, shrieking I'm going to talk to your manager about your rude behavior. This is when it clicked for me. She thought I worked there. And I could see why. But she still had me in her grasp. So I hit her, and she let go. K, walks over to see the situation. What seems to be the problem? K, this employee hit me. K, sir, what happened here? M, so, I'm getting a box of cereal for my mom, on the other side of the store, and I'm finished with my selection, and this lady decides to snatch the cereal box out of my hands, and then tells me that she's going to my manager to tell her how rude I am. Lady, I don't work here. Look at my clothes, my hat. I am not a BJ's employee. And also, sir, she told me that she didn't need help from your Doomba employees. K ma'am, you need to leave. You are disturbing this young man, and here at BJ's, we don't appreciate that. K what? You're making me leave? And bye Karen. Frick you. The kind employee ended up giving my mom and I the cart we had for free. Was a good day. End. At my last job, and now in my current job, I would have these mandatory performance reviews that include my performance goals for the upcoming year. When I sign up for these, it's with the express purpose of preparing for a merit increase at the end of the period. This never happened in my last job because they were always making bad decisions that left them scrambling to make ends meet, much less try to give people pay raises. In my new job, of course, there's been an impact from COVID, so I was told there would be no merit increases this year because there's no money available. Okay, I get it, and it's fine because I wasn't eligible this time around anyway, but for next year, they're already saying no raises at the end of this year, but they still want us to do the performance reviews and goal setting. Of course you want your workforce to continue to improve and to meet the demands of the job, but I'm doing that. I just get a kind of minor issue with putting in the effort to do the performance review, but with no payoff from me in it. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. In my last job, it was completely pointless because no one even cared, not the employees, the bosses, or the managers. It was just a box you had to check, but here, it's like you're supposed to be all chipper about it like it's going to mean something. I am 14. I am a certified referee in my state. I know the rules as I've played by them my whole life along with taking the officiating classes. At our park district, no headers for ages below 11. But in U12, it is up to the referee's discretion. So if it's a small tap it's okay. That is exactly what happens. So the coach behind me screams at the top of his lungs there are no headers in U12 5 to 16 times. I ignore him. Though I could eject him. It was last game of the season and I didn't care. After a bit of yelling, he says fine, go duck yourself then, which I turn and tell at him for saying in front of U11 kids. I wish I sent him away or ended the match. Sadly I didn't do much and my partner is a longtime referee, officiated my matches as I grew up, and he is deaf. So he has no idea what happened. The person who runs Park District in my area has been informed and is taking action. So for context, my parents own a cafe, so whenever I'm there I either put my plate in the kitchen or if they're busy back there I put my plate on the side nearby so they don't have to clear my table. Moving on to the story, I was putting my plate on the side because it was busy. When I turned around Karen got up in my face and demanded to know when her food would be ready and the dialogue went a little like this. Karen, hey up, why isn't my food ready yet? Me, I don't work here but I'd guess it's because they're busy right now but I'm sure they'll bring it out to you ASAP. Karen, yes you do work here, I saw you hand a plate over. Me, miss I only did that because my parents own the place and I wanted to be polite. Karen, I don't believe you. I bet you just want you to get out of doing your job because all you young people are lazy and useless. Me, look at the person behind the counter. Karen, do you see what they're wearing? Great, now see what I'm wearing. They don't look remotely similar. My hair isn't tied up, which is important in this industry, and I'm not wearing an apron. Now leave me alone and go wait at your table for your food. I did get into trouble with my family after being so rude, but it was worth it. I'm fed up of coming into work and being screamed at because our company won't hire enough people to deal with the call volumes. I'm fed up of being the only person in my team who still has to come into the office because my manager is incapable of sorting out a laptop that works. I'm fed up of screeching in my ear because people are incapable of understanding that we need meter readings to know how much electric they've used. I'm just absolutely sick of this job. I'm sick of getting home and going straight to sleep because the idea of going in the next day exhausts me. 5 years is enough. I'm done. I recently booked a trip on a low-cost bus company but received an email later the same day saying the run had been cancelled due to low ridership. They offered to change my departure time or give me a refund. Since I couldn't travel at the other times, I accepted the refund and went with a competitor. Yet what was refunded to my card did not include the $2.50 booking fee. I emailed them through their website but got no response. I then filed a complaint through the Better Business Bureau, and the company responded by saying dismissively, "Please be advised that booking fees are non-refundable." Has this happened to you? Obviously, it's not about the money. It's the principle. Today I was going for my usual run at the park and I thought I seen my sister and my nephew pass by me. We were going on opposite directions so I knew we would meet up again. When I was about to finish up the lap I seen them again standing on the grass. I run without my glasses so I wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing things and decided to go up to them and take a closer look. When I approached them they reacted like they knew me and the kid sounded like my nephew. The woman was built like my sister and moved/acted the same. So I was sure that my nephew. When I approached them I first pumped the kid, pinched him and said, "You are already tired." The woman responded that he was okay in a scared tone, and at that moment I realized that she was too white to be my sister and that the kid was not my nephew. I quietly and calmly said goodbye and left the park without finishing my workout. Now I can never go to that park again because I'm afraid that people might think I'm some kind of pedophile and kidnapper. I am never trusting my eyes again, they really look so similar. TLDR, I mistook a Rodham child for my nephew at the park and now they might think I'm a kidnapper. Never thought this would happen to me, but here goes. I work from home, and it is mid-morning. In a meeting with someone on my team. Boom, my cell phone rings. Loudly. Oops. I ignore it and finish the meeting. 35 minutes later, I check and the caller, unknown but local, left voicemail. Load the voicemail, and it is an older lady who is anxious about a mail delivery that was supposed to happen at 9 a.m., but the courier showed up at 7:30 when she was sleeping. Guessing this was something sensitive because she had to sign for it. I felt kind bad for her, so I called her back, just as the mail courier arrived at the door. She asked me to wait on the phone and I heard the entire conversation she had with the courier, which was a bit amusing. She was very sweet to all concerned and apologized for the confusion. No idea what courier company has a number like my cell, or even why she would be able to call them directly. Pretty sure she wasn't referring to the USPS, as it sounds like they always show up at her place at 9 a.m. She was not a Karen at all and thanked me for calling back. Glad she eventually got her delivery. This is actually an ongoing flip-up that has lasted over 3 years. So, for context, I just recently moved into a new apartment complex and a relative mentioned to me that I should re-register to vote and change my home address. I went to my state's voter registration website and noticed something odd. Someone who leans very much left, was registered to a far-right party. It turns out that for the past 3 years while I've thought that I was an independent voter, I've actually been registered to the far-right American Independent Party. I quickly changed my party affiliation so that it reflects my actual beliefs. No harm no foul, I just feel incredibly stupid. To clear up any confusion, I'm only 21, so this is my first year actually being eligible to vote in a presidential election, hence why I'm just now realizing my flip-up. Doctor, I confused American Independent Party with independent voter. We all know what our accidental front camera face looks like and we don't want to show that to 30 strangers, do we? Well, I did that today. I'm at home and totally jobless. I found this online data entry job. It's dull work, but I thought it'll at least bring some money. So I applied. They're giving us a 10-day training to teach how to do the job properly. But unfortunately, the time is way earlier than I normally wake up. And with my flipped-up sleep schedule because of quarantine, I half sleep through these classes. I just turn off my mic and camera and listen to the guy talking. Today I picked up the phone to see what he was showing. I looked down to a tiny square, and I saw my front camera face there. Sleepy, double-chinned, messy-haired, oily-skinned, as ugly as you could look when you just woke up. My heartbeat just shot up. I quickly turned the camera off with a shaky hand. Remembered 30 people watched me, full on their screens because everyone else had their camera turned off. Wondered how long my camera has been on. I'm an introvert, I don't like to show people my face even if it's not my front camera. The embarrassment just hit me so hard. I left the meeting. Still embarrassed, now writing this. Doctor, I showed my ugly front camera face to 30 people without realizing it. Not me, but witnessed my bar manager go through this. Customer, excuse me, I've been waiting ages and you served everyone except me. Bar manager, I'm sorry love, what do you want? C, I'm not your love. Stares. BM, I'm sorry, can I get you anything? C, I think it's awful how you ignore customers who have been waiting for so long. BM, I didn't realize you had been waiting so long, what can I get you? C, well, I think this is awful, 5 people must have come after me and been served. BM, I apologize again, I'll get you your drinks now, what would you like? C, for free? BM, sorry, I can't do them for free. C, why not? I've had to wait for so long, it's the least you can do. BM, I don't think it works like that, do you want any drinks or not? C, of course I do, why do you think I was waiting at the bar? But I don't think I should have to pay. BM, you can either buy a drink or stand away from the bar, I'm afraid, that's all we can offer. C, fine. But I don't want you to serve me. BM, why not? C, because you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing. BM, well everyone else here didn't serve you fast enough either, what difference does it make who pours your drinks? C, well I've just said, anyone but you. Now get somebody else. BM, well, the other staff are busy mixing drinks, so you'll have to wait if you want them. C, are you kidding? Flip you. BM, flip me? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Commence ranting and shouting followed by the bouncer escorting her out. I was recently at Walmart during a tea storm and it was announced that a tornado warning had been issued and customers were instructed to go to the layaway counter in the rear of the store for safety. Some background. I'm male and I work at a local museum where we wear a blue vest with our museum name and logo as well as our distinctive name tags. The employees at the WM in town wear grayish and yellow vests with all the WM logos and identifiers. While waiting for the tornado to pass, a woman came up to me and said that there is a leak in the ceiling in a nearby department. Having been mistaken for a WM employee before, I told her that I don't work there. She looks at me up and down and realizing her mistake says sorry and leaves to find a real employee. A few minutes later, having gotten a comfortable seat, I spot a woman and her daughter, about 25-ish looking, looked around and then spotted me. As they make their way over to me through the crowd, they look closer at me, and just as they get to me, the mother says to her daughter, "I don't think he works here." As they turned to walk away, another woman was walking in my direction and opened her mouth to speak to me and, anticipating an employee question, told her that I don't work there. She smiled, said she was sorry and moved on. Sorry, so anticlimactic, and no Karens were encountered or harmed. These were just the latest in several encounters at WM in the last couple of years, but it was the first time I had several in one day. The first one, I was speechless when it happened. It was a couple of years ago and I had just gotten a cart, wearing my blue vest, I gotta learn someday, and I was on my way to do some shopping when a man approached me and grabbed my cart and said, "Thanks, I'll take this one." I was so stunned by this and had yet to read my first idle or see any of the vids that I wasn't sure how to react. I just let it go and got another cart. Hope you enjoyed.